One of the most unexpected teams from 2022 has to be what Illinois did, especially on the defensive side of the football. From a year to year basis, Illinois was a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. No one was really afraid of them. They were shuffling from coach to coach. However, Bret Bielma shows up. He gets that defense right. He gets guys like Devin Witherspoon to transform into first round picks. Now, a bunch of those guys in their secondary are gone, and the outlook for 2023, there's a little bit of a question mark. I'm going to come and sit here and say that there shouldn't be a question mark. Illinois looks really freaking good, and Illinois is going to continue to be one of the better programs in the Big Ten for the entire time that Bielma is there. My main source of optimism for this team is what they have going for them along their defensive line, and it starts in the middle with two guys that were freaking unblockable, especially in one of their biggest games, a game that they almost upset Michigan. I'm talking about Keith Randolph, and I'm talking about Jer'Jon Newton. And if you've missed the breakdown episodes that we did on those two guys, I implore you to go check those out. Ryan and I talked about them individually, as well as a defensive tackle ranking show where we highlighted how they both can be two of the best defensive tackles in the 2024 NFL draft. This team is built like an SEC defense. They're going to be one of the hardest teams to move the ball against, especially when running the football. So all the teams in the Big Ten need to be put on notice that Illinois can legitimately do damage again in 2023. But the additional reason where I find optimism is the fact that Luke Altmaier comes in from Ole Miss. And I know that Luke Altmaier is not a massive name, but he was still once a highly recruited kid at Ole Miss who got beaten out for that QB job by Jackson Dart. And he didn't want to sit around and wait. So he steps into a spot where this team is growing and developing, and he can be the guy to lead this offense and give them juice. If Altmaier can be as good as anticipated and as hoped, Illinois can be one of the better teams in 2023 in the Big Ten. As we've done so far, let's take a look at Illinois' schedule and predict how they're going to do in 2023. Starting things off, playing against Toledo. Winnable game, MAC opponent, shouldn't be hard. 1-0. They then go to travel and play at Kansas. Now, I know Kansas was an up-and-comer last year. I know that Jalen Daniels was a fun football player. He has a chain that plays his highlights around his neck, but that's not going to win them this football game. 2-0 start for Illinois. Their third game of the season is they're starting to establish some momentum. They have to host Penn State. It helps that they're hosting them, and that might make this game really, really close and down to the wire. But as much as I like Illinois this year, I really, really like the talent on that Penn State roster. I think that Penn State is going to be one of the best teams in the Big Ten, so I'm not going to go against my predictions for what the Nittany Lions will do this upcoming season. So let's say Illinois loses this game, that then gives them a 2-1 record. They have a really easy stretch after this where they host FAU, 3-1, very winnable game. I know that Tom Herman is trying to get that team back on track, but still, let's give them that 3-1 start. At Purdue, you're facing your old defensive coordinator in Ryan Walters. It's going to take some time to rework that roster to get them where they are. This is not a team that is on a year-to-year basis pulling in big-name recruits. It is going to take a little bit before Walters reshapes and gets them where they need to be. So it's a 4-1 with a victory over Purdue. They host Nebraska. Not optimistic on the first year of Matt Rule. 5-1 start for Illinois. And then at Maryland, I'm not a supporter of Maryland. For some reason, every year there's always a crowd that thinks that Maryland is a team that can go around upsetting good teams. I think that Talia Tagovailoa is extremely overrated. So give me the victory there for Illinois to start the season at a record of 6-1. After that, they host Wisconsin. It is really difficult for a team to finish the season with one or two losses. And I think that if there are losable games on the schedule, Wisconsin is one of them. If Phil Longo has this offense operating the way that it can get to with Tanner Mordecai and Braylon Allen and CJ Williams, they're going to be really hard to keep up with. So let's say that this is one of their losable games. They lose this game. They're now 6-2. At Minnesota is their next opponent. I like PJ Fleck, but they're not beating Minnesota. 7-2 after getting a victory there and recovering after the Wisconsin loss. Versus Indiana, I'm not afraid of Indiana. 8-2. Don't even need to dive deep on that one. Iowa, at Iowa. Again, if we're picking losable games, traveling to play at Iowa is one of the hardest games that any opponent is going to have to deal with. Iowa is just a chasm, a void where teams go to die, where they can't score points and they can't move the football. I have a very, very strange feeling that this game is going to be like a 10-7, just terrible, awful offensive game, complete and utter nail biter in November at Iowa. And with that reasoning, I'm going to say that Iowa wins this game. That then places their record at 8-3, and then Northwestern, you're handing a really good opportunity for your final game of the season to end on a high note, because Northwestern is going to be a mess. They're going to stink. Easy W for them against the other team in Illinois, in the state of Illinois. 9-3 is your final record. I think that is a great, fantastic season, especially with the struggling history of this Illinois program. To go 9-3 in 2023 would be a massive accomplishment, and it's all going to come down to the defensive success they have, especially along their defensive line. If you disagree, drop a comment below and let me know where you think I'm wrong. I just want to tell you folks about an exciting new partnership that we have with this channel with Underdog Fantasy. Ever since I joined, I've been having so much fun. There are so many different exciting games that make watching games during the offseason more exciting. I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but it has made it way more entertaining since I found Underdog Fantasy. And my favorite game to play so far, which I think you should try out, is Pick'em. It is so easy to play. Just pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it simple. With their easy-to-use website and mobile apps, pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your pick'em slip, get every pick right, and take home some cold, hard cash. Use code HACK, H-A-C-K, HACK, like the name of this channel. Use code HACK to get your first deposit doubled up to $100 by Underdog. Go sign up. You won't regret it. You're going to have a blast. Check out Underdog Fantasy. I also want to tell you folks about our other recurring sponsor that we have on this channel, that being BetOnline, betonline.ag, which is all the updated odds, news, and anything for sports betting. It's my go-to source for when I want to be betting specifically on games. I love betting on college basketball or the NBA, especially, again, during the offseason. Always looking for more fun ways to be focused in on some of these other sports. It's betonline.ag and use promo code BELIEVE50. It's promo code BELIEVE50 to get 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.